Hello everyone, Prime here, and I hope that you're enjoying your day. Today we're going to be covering how the Trojan War would have been affected if Discordia/Eris decided to be a bit more sinister or relentless in her campaign to spite the gods because they didn't allow her to attend the union of Peleus and Thetis. So, for those of you that aren't too familiar with Eris's role in the Trojan War, as I just said, she was denied access to the wedding of Peleus and Thetis due to her natural instinctual desire to cause disagreement, or discord. Because of this, she caused discord by sneaking a golden apple into the wedding ceremony. Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite argued over this apple, and Zeus avoided picking between all three of these women, instead directing this choice at Paris of Troy. After seeing all of these goddesses naked and receiving all kinds of gifts from each goddess, Paris eventually chooses Aphrodite. And Aphrodite promised Paris the most beautiful woman's hand in marriage, which she did deliver upon. Unfortunately for everyone involved, the most beautiful woman at the time was the daughter of Zeus, Helena. Helena was already promised to King Menelaus of Sparta, and so when the daughter of Zeus madly fell in love with Paris and fled with him back to Troy, the king was none too pleased, and so he invoked the oaths of all the previous potential suitors of Helena to join him and take back Helena from the Trojans. Of course, this began the Trojan War. But this also leads us into our first change. You see, instead of just allowing the suitors of Helena to come together, and bear in mind, these suitors are princes and kings, very influential, very rich. They are in control of several armies and helped Menelaus from a military perspective as far as his victory was concerned in this war. Eris would ignite a spark of defiance in them, and in this Trojan War, Eris will indeed convince these men that Helena should be theirs and spark a bit of defiance in each one of them. What this would ultimately cause, in my opinion, would not necessarily change the outcome of the war. The Greeks would still defeat the Trojans, but the Greeks would have a lot less men in their army. There'd be a lot more deaths because of all the infighting. This also means that when Odysseus finally enacts his plan to give the Trojans a Trojan horse as a gift so that they could sacrifice it or, have it in their city in honor of Athena or Poseidon or whichever god. I believe it was Athena's honor, but it may have been another god's honor. Let's just go with Athena's honor. You know the story. Instead of that actually being the case, that was just a lie so that the Trojans would actually allow this horse into their city. In fact, what was actually inside of this horse were the Spartans themselves. And after the Trojans kind of celebrated their victory and were asleep, under the cover of night, the Trojans leapt out of the horse, or rather used ropes and climbed down like sensible people, and opened the gates of the city, allowing their Greek soldiers to burst in and ransack the city of Troy. But during this time, instead of allowing Menelaus to enter the city and return home with Helena, one of the kings or princes, under the guise that perhaps Menelaus would be furious with Helena, would kidnap Helena themselves and force Helena to marry them, or perhaps even steal Helena for themselves, and eventually cause massive infighting within the ranks of the Greeks beyond the scope of what had already been covered within the war. And thanks to this, most of the princes and kings would likely die, a great deal more than what was left from the previous version of the story, the original version of the story. But that's just one way in which Eris could cause a lot more discord than she did in the previous story. There is another way. In this next version of the story, we're going to change things slightly. Eris will do two things to affect the outcome of the war. First and foremost, she's going to prevent Achilles from joining the battle, because it was mentioned that without Achilles, it was very likely that the Greeks would not have won the war. Achilles probably had the highest kill count out of any combatant on the field, and he even kills Hector, the best fighter on the Trojan side. So he does die not too long after this, but still, he killed a very good amount of people leading up to this. But it was very much the case that Achilles might not have even joined this war because his mother hid him under the guise of a woman to protect him from having any part to play in this war. And you see, it was ultimately Odysseus that ended Achilles' disassociation with the war by confronting him with a spear and a shield, which Achilles took swiftly, and this was the trap that he fell for, and then he went off to fight in the Trojan War. So, to make sure that Achilles doesn't fight in this war, Eris would find some way to either make sure that Odysseus does not invoke Achilles' pride by getting him to fight in the war, by either not allowing Odysseus to present Achilles with a spear and a shield, or perform some other rite or tradition of honor. Secondly, as made apparent by Apollo, the gods were very much aware of Achilles' great weakness. You see, his mother wanted to make sure that her son did not perish easily in battle and was very much afraid for his life. So she dipped the boy in the river Styx, and this made him invulnerable to damage from everywhere on his body except for his heels, hence the phrase Achilles' heels. Therefore, all Discordia would have to do is have Achilles be damaged somehow in the heels, and just like in the original story, he would die instantly as soon as he's damaged there. That's Achilles taken out of the fight. And what this would do is either A, ensure that the Greek forces lose the war, or at the very least would have the war end in some sort of stalemate, where the Greeks have no way of actually winning, but the Trojans also have no way of actually properly winning. Though most likely in this scenario, not only did the Trojans win the war, but ultimately, if the Trojans were to win, then it would mean the sacking of the Greek cities. And, of course, Helena's hand would remain in possession of Paris. And of course, Apollo would be happy because Apollo wanted the people of Paris to win. And so did Poseidon, and Aphrodite, and so Ares. Athena would be quite sad, Hera would be quite sad. Zeus would be satisfied because Zeus also wanted the Trojans to win. I should probably also note that not every single god was interested in the outcome of this Trojan War. It seemed like Demeter didn't care too much, Hestia didn't care too much, Artemis didn't care too much. So, you know. And this was, of course, mostly about Eris, who even enjoyed the war in and of herself just because of the war aspect, and of course the fact that she was getting her vengeance against the gods for leaving her out of the party. So, really, the ultimate way to stop the Trojan War in and of itself is just allow Discordia to enter the party. Then again, perhaps, I mean, she was known for causing discord, which was the only reason why she wasn't allowed into the party in the first place, so perhaps maybe the Trojan War was unavoidable at that point. So there you go. Unless they held the wedding ceremony between Peleus and Thetis in secret, I don't think this war would have been avoided any other way, but there you go. Still, I hope that you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, it would mean a lot if you could leave a like, and tell me, do you think that this storyline would go a different way? Am I missing things? The Trojan War is a very, very long story. I didn't read up on everything because there is a lot to cover. It wouldn't take you too long to find about an hour-and-a-half long documentary on the whole subject if you didn't want to read up on it. But, you know, if there's an hour-and-a-half long documentary worth of content on it, then yeah, you know, it's a lot of content to get through. Other than that, though, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate every single like that you leave. If you're new to the channel and want to see more videos just like this, you're only a subscribe button away, so go ahead and give that a click. And until the next video, have a very good day. I've been Prime, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.